up this morning feeling a little weird. And last night, apparently, you guys came to my house, and this isn't a dream. So, you guys came to my house, and I was like, oh, I didn't know we were going to be doing the podcast episode at my house. And you're like, yeah. Said was like, yeah, we're just going to do it. Sorry, we didn't tell you. We brought all the equipment. And I said, okay, cool, no problem. So, you guys come in, and you guys meet my brothers, and you completely ditch me. You continue to hang out with my brothers and like do what you guys wanted to do. You played some GTA, video games, VR. And then Said, I think you felt bad for me. So you came to talk to me and stuff. And you're like, are you okay? And I said, yeah, but I thought we were going to do the podcast episode. And you're like, yeah, that's messed up. You're right. Let's go get Zid. So I said, okay, let's go get Zid. So we walk over to Zid and we're like, Zid, it's time for us to record this podcast episode. And then you're like, no, I don't feel like it anymore. And I was like, excuse me? And you're like, yeah, no, I'm going to kick it with your brothers, but I don't really feel like doing this. We can do it another day. And then I looked at Saeed and I said, dude, we need to record this podcast episode. Like, I'm not okay with this. And then you're like, no, honestly, I actually agreed with Zid. I'm going to go hang out with your brothers and we're going to leave you. So I woke up this morning and I was like going to text you guys and tell you, I don't know. I don't think I want to record with you guys.
Bro.
I feel some sort of way towards you now.
No. I mean, that doesn't sound too far off from what Zayd would do.
maybe if I was on 4 hours of sleep, but that sounds like a message from the universe.
That's hilarious, dude. It's like, I'm bringing you back. I'm like, Zayd, what are you doing?
Yeah, it was interesting. So I don't know. So I didn't actually have those feelings when I woke up. I actually started laughing and I was like, that's interesting.
That is too funny, honestly.
Yeah, it was really random.
Is that something that you often have, like just dreams about people, just within your, whether they're acquaintances, close friends, whatever?
I do. I actually, you know what? My dreams always have messages. Can I share another dream with you guys?
I'm down.
Please.
Okay. So this was a dream that I had 30. So I think it was like when I was around 20. So 10 years ago. And I was living at the house at the time. And there's 10 years between myself and my younger brother, Laith. And I had this dream that we were in San Francisco and we were just like walking around and all of a sudden I see my little brother and he's like hanging. Have you guys been to San Francisco in California?
No, but we've kind of seen enough. No.
Nope.
That's wild. Okay. Well, when you guys come visit, I'm going to take you there because it's really important for you guys to go over there. And I'm going to show you exactly where I had this dream. But anyways, there's like this railing. And on the other side, there's water and there's like these sea lions and all this stuff. And all of a sudden I see my brother like climbing on top of the railing and he's like scared. And I'm looking at Laith and I said, Laith, what are you doing? And he's like, I can't hold on. I need your help. And so I tried to get him, but I couldn't. And he ended up falling into the water. And then I wake up in the morning. Obviously, I'm like, okay, that was a weird dream. But intuitively, I felt that something was going to happen that day to him. And we were actually going to San Francisco as a family. So I tell my parents, I said, hey guys, I had this dream. 1, 2, 3. This is exactly what happened. Just keep an eye on Laith, please. And they're like, yeah, of course, blah, blah, blah. We go to San Francisco and we went to the pier. And the pier has people all over from the world that are like literally there. There's like thousands of people at this place and it's a hot spot for tourism. And then you have like homeless people as well. So there's all kinds of people when you go there. So we go to the pier and me and my dad, we take Laith, we go get some food. Everybody's waiting for us outside. Me and my dad come outside with the food and we say, where's Laith? Where's Laith? Guys, where's Laith? Laith is nowhere to be found. So we start freaking out because this kid is really young and anybody can snatch him. So we start looking. 10 minutes goes by, 15 minutes goes by, no Laith. Yep. And then we start to call the cops and all of a sudden people that we thought were like homeless people were like undercover cops. So they started to get up and they start looking for this kid. Nobody can find him. 45 minutes go by, still no Laith. And I've never seen my dad cry and he was crying. So, you know, when you see your parents crying, there's a problem. So I started to cry and then I just like closed my eyes and I went back to the dream and I was praying and I said, God, please let me find him. I know in the dream you showed me water, but there's so much water around here. Where, like, which place would this be? So I told my parents, I'm going to go off on my own and I'm just going to trust my intuition and I'm going to come back with Laith. I knew it. I put it in my head. And I was walking and I was crying and I was saying prayers in my head. I also prayed and I told God, and this was my promise, is if you let me find Laith, I promise you, I will never, ever, ever not take care of him. He will be my responsibility, and I will make sure he's always taken care of. 5 seconds later, where was Laith? Walking right by the water, and he's like sucking on a lollipop, and I just wanted to like, so bad. I'm like, dude, but I didn't. So he saw me obviously, and he knew something was wrong. So he ran to me and he was crying. I just hugged him, and I brought him back to my parents, and my parents were just like so shocked, like, how did you even find this kid? And I said, the dream. The dream told me exactly where Laith was. And so from that time, I started to trust my dreams. Obviously, not all dreams, because I have really weird, insane dreams that come through. But there's certain times where I do wake up and my intuition tells me something is off, or sometimes they're good dreams, not bad dreams all the time. But I knew from that moment, I was like, okay, there's a gift through dreams and there's messages. And it's really important for people to be aware when these messages to come through, not to just like throw it away. I think it's really important to look at them and to realize that there is a message and you have to uncode this message somehow, but not to do it in a way where it's like you freak out or you implement fear in your mindset or in your body or in your life, because then that's exactly what you're going to be attracting into your life. So that's
This
the
is
story.
this is so incredibly fascinating to me, because remember the book we bought about dream interpretation?
Mhm.
We still haven't opened it to this day. We bought it like maybe 4 or 5 months ago. But
I've browsed through it, but it was mostly the illustrations. I was like, yo, this picture's sick, you know?
but it's just like, what is it about dreams that, like, how are they connected to everyday reality, and how do you get those messages to like bridge the gap? What do you think about that?
It's hard for me to say, dude, because I go through things instead of dreams. It's the real world. There's a lot of things that get linked between people that have no affiliation. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? You know, like I feel like I'm like behind the scenes and I'm just witnessing the the like stitching of things happen in real life.
Like synchronicities?
Synchronicities. Like, for example, the knowing someone on the other side of Earth and then having a best friend here and knowing your best friend and everything about him. But there's one detail that he knows this guy. And you find out later in life and you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, how is it that my best friend has some sort of link to this guy on the other side of Earth?
Yeah.
And the only reason why I know him is because of something that is completely opposite of what I need from my best friend. And it just comes back first full circle. And you're like, okay, I don't like this. And you feel like there's some fabrication in the Matrix. Like I said, Interstellar, when you're behind the wall.
Yeah.
And you're seeing all these things match up, and you're like, whoa. There's like, it's like different times versus I don't know how to even explain.
So here's the question: when you guys are dreaming, are you aware that you're dreaming?
Most of the time,
Most of the time, I am actually. See, it depends who you ask.
Well, you have to be lucid.
I'm very aware. And this is something my brothers and we've talked about, and the four of us, we have that. When we're dreaming and when we wake up, we know we're dreaming. And we've been able to control our dreams, but it's getting stronger now because we're so aware of it and we know that we can do that. So I always love to ask, because I want to know, what are your guys' experiences with, like Said, for instance, you've had experiences where you know that you're dreaming. Are you able to control the dream, or are you just at the awareness of like, okay, I'm dreaming, and letting it play as it is?
The pattern I've noticed is if there is an action sequence in the dream, I am able to control it for the most part. Things like against my will, there's going to be dreams, obviously, where you're running away and all of a sudden you can't run. And you knowing that it's a dream, you know that in real life you can run. So you're frustrated at the fact that you're unable to run, knowing that you can run. Right? So you're imagining your mechanics working fully, but they're just not working in your dream. And you're like, that's frustrating. So in that case, I can't control them. But in a sense, I can control the narrative, the people included.
Can you actually?
What time of day? Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of those things are random unless you like really tap into lucid dream.
In some ways, I can.
Huh.
Yeah, it just depends on the dream.
Is this something that you've been able to do since you were a little kid, or is this something you became? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I remember most dreams, to be honest, were uncontrolled. They would just show up and reappear without my control, over and over again, like same dreams. You get me? There's certain dreams that are just recurring, that seem to be just telling me something, but I don't know what it is. And
Interesting.
The more I grow into being an adult, the more things happen in life. It seems to be like it was a hint at that. You get me? Like it feels like that thing as a child. It's like as if my timeline was already written before. It's the best way I could put it.
It's such a deep rabbit hole, but I am like I've never dived deep into lucid dreaming. I know it's possible, 100%. I know there's certain teas you can drink before you go to bed, techniques, all sorts of things. But the thing that really interests me about this and just any of the more ethereal topics is synchronicity. So I'd like to get your take on what you think about synchronicity as a whole.
Oh, they're absolutely possible. And this is how I look at life in general. I think life is a game. And I think that we have to figure out how to play the game. And everybody comes into this world being a different character with different purposes in this life. And it's up to you to figure out when you're playing this game, what are the messages coming through? And it's through synchronicities. So I've had it, like Said was saying, through dreams. I've had it where I've written things out in a journal. It'll happen. It doesn't happen exactly that way. But when I'm putting out an intention, because you have to think about it, that we're all energy out here. So everybody is vibrating at a certain frequency. So when you're going out in the universe, you're a magnet. So whatever you're putting out there is exactly what's going to come back. So if I'm out here and I'm just asking the universe for a sign for something that I need clarity on, I get it every single time. It's not how I expect it, but I know it's a synchronicity because it's connected to the intention that I put out there in the first place. And the way I kind of go about my life is I know that I'm a co-creator to a creator. So when I wake up in the morning, I always have an intention. What is it that I want out of this day? Maybe it's just going to the gym and being healthy, eating and being around family. It doesn't have to be anything big, and there's other times where I wake up and I was like, I want to manifest some money today. And I manifest money. It's easy. It's not hard, but what's hard is your thought process, because everything starts with your thoughts. That creates the energy, and then the energy goes out into the universe. So a lot of the time, what I do is I'm a mindset coach, and I coach young women being able to kind of get into this thought process that empowers them to create their reality in this life. And I always tell them that it's really important to look for the signs, but you cannot get signs without asking the right question. You have to ask the right question. So I'm 100% big believer in synchronicities, and they happen all day, every day, but it depends on your awareness level and your consciousness to be able to actually be aware of these signs coming in that give you the answers to your questions. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah,
big time. Yeah.
What does this mean to you, synchronicities? Do you guys think that this stuff is real, or does it sound like woo-woo stuff?
It's something that is a rabbit hole to me. It's something that, yes, it exists. We don't understand it. We don't understand why. But again, we're designed to recognize patterns as humans. So not forgetting that, you already know like synchronicity is a thing, right? We know that we're energy. So if you put out good into the world, good will attract you. You know what I mean? You're going to have to filter through the bad shit. But the good stuff is there if you're actually doing good. If you're doing bad, good stuff will follow, but eventually bad as well. You know what I mean? Like inevitably, your theme will just be bad because you're just being bad. That's your whole intention. I think your intention is the theme of yourself. It's kind of what it is.
Yeah. You want to say something else?
You get me?
I want to push back a little on the first thing you said. I think from a scientific perspective, we understand why it happens. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, and that is just purely designed for pattern recognition for simplicity's sake. But there is an element of synchronicities that transcend the scientific method. Like somehow something will be connected from one part of your experience to another, and it just doesn't make sense. It seems like there's a purpose to it, like almost as if it's divinely inspired or divinely created, you could say. So that's
so beautifully said.
Yeah.
So true. I don't mean to cut you off. But there is such thing as divinely designed and orchestrated situations to get you where you need to be in life. And the thing is with law of attraction, it does not just follow people who are doing good in life. It's like if you decide to sell your soul, which a lot of people do in entertainment, for instance, in that type of environment, law of attraction will still work for you. Like if you think you're the shit and you can have all the money and all the women and do whatever you want, you really can, because that's your belief system. But the difference is that person actually sleeping at night? And to me, my conscious means a lot more than selling my soul for money, because I know the abundance will come. But to me, it's always been about my just being a divine channel and a conduit and being an instrument in this world of being of service. How can I be of service, and how can I do it in a way where it inspires and empowers other to also tap into this power within us, or the divine, like you were saying. So I love that you said that.
That's funny. Our last guest, we asked him like if you had one thing to tell the audience. Remember what he said? He's like, I think the most important thing in life is service.
Totally.
Yeah, 100%. And that's honestly what is missing today. But this is a wonderful intro to Miss Tamara Kailany.
Jesus, that was the intro.
Yeah.
I just felt like we were gonna roll through.
One story after another.
Yeah. Miss Entrepreneur and Comedian over here. She is the mindset coach for young women, ladies and gentlemen. She's a podcast founder and host of Finding the Oasis Within. Go ahead and check her out. She's also a musical artist at Mirage Meditation Music. Musique. Yeah. So, Tamara, thank you for that awesome intro. As you guys can see, she's very interesting, very spiritually motivated.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us more about your background really quick, as she's in the middle of the East, as we are.
Well, at first I wanted to say thank you to you guys, because I know I reached out a while ago because I was so intrigued by your show. I was very intrigued with your guys' brotherhood from one to another, and you guys being Middle Eastern was such a cool thing for me and for us to kind of be a part of this platform and be a part of this change that we are wanting to see in this world. So thank you to both of you for holding the space for me and just letting me come on here and be myself. So your question was to tell you more about myself and where I come from, or? Yeah,
just introduce yourself to the audience real quick, because they probably have some questions as to what Tamara's doing on our show.
Yeah, seriously, what am I doing here? I put it out there, honestly.
No, we're here to discuss really cool stuff. As you guys heard the intro, it's pretty smacking.
We're not messing around.
Get through this intro just so everybody knows you, so we can move along with our discussion.
Yeah, so this question, sometimes it stumps me with like, who are you? And I used to think that question meant, mindset coach and podcast host and like a music artist and all that. And I love those things because I love what I do, but it's not actually who I am. I've realized after some time who I really am is a channel. And it's like, I look at myself as a library, and I always want people to, ask me questions and to reach out to understand more about what our purpose as human beings are on this earth. Because when I was a little kid, I was so confused. I didn't understand why we were created, who created us. And coming from a Middle Eastern background, especially being a woman, it was tough for me. And especially being around 3 boys. So I have 3 younger brothers, and I've always been the oldest. But it was tough. I had so many questions, and I would ask, we used to go to Sunday school, and they would teach us a lot about Arabic and the Quran. I was born and raised in Muslim household, and I have so much respect for it now because I actually understand it. But when I was younger, I didn't get it because the way it was communicated was all out of fear. And that fear created a lot of trauma for me in a way where it's like, I didn't really know if there was a God or not, because I was just listening to what other people were saying. And when I would ask the question, people would say it's forbidden for you to ask that question, or, we don't have an answer for you. So then I was like, that doesn't make sense. You guys are putting me in this school and nobody's answering these answers, and you're expecting me to learn all of this stuff, this manual. I'm like, I don't know. Something about this is still very sketchy and fishy. So that stayed with me for years and years and years. And I was stuck in this cycle of like, well, why am I here? And what is God? And is God real? And it was a struggle because I I just felt like I was lost, and I felt like I came here and it was a mistake. So when I got into my mid 20s, I had an opportunity to move out to Seattle and to really experience life on my terms. And during that time, I came across a very important mentor in my life who opened the right door into what God really is and how is this God connected to me and what is it that I'm supposed to be doing in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And she explained Islam through such a beautiful and loving way that it made me actually just want to know everything about God. And I wanted to know everything about other religions and everything past religion. So I started to build my own inner foundation and connection with God. And I realized that it's not an entity or an energy or a source that's outside of me. It's within me, it's outside of me, it's in everybody, it's everything. And I started to realize that whatever I'm putting out into this world is a reflection of the divine within me. So I better be putting things out that are actually going to help elevate and bring positivity, because when people look at me, I want them to see the divine within me in order for them to connect with the divine within themselves. And then I started to kind of look through all these different religions, and I started to realize they all had the same message. It's about coming into this lifetime and asking the questions, because it's really beautiful to ask the right questions, to gain knowledge, to figure out how do we tap into the power within and how do we tap into our full potential, because this life is not about staying in one container. And in all respect to people who work corporate life and get married, have children, and they're content that way, all respect to them, but that doesn't align with everybody, and for sure it was not for me. And once I got out of that like 9 to 5 mentality and having to get married just to satisfy societal pressure and parental pressure, and just needing to just be a mom and being like a wife, and again, all respect to people who have already experienced things like this, and if they love that, I love that for you. But again, it just didn't align. I was like, that's just still not me. I knew I needed to do something out in this world that was different than what I was raised with, and different for just being Middle Eastern. A lot of women are suppressed in our culture, and they're not able to really be who they want to be in this world. So I had to figure out how do I build this path and be a catalyst, but not in a way where it's like my ego and having to prove myself, or this whole feminist thing. I just feel like feminism is it's a freaking business.
Yeah,
100%. It's like the way it's communicated, it does not actually uplift humanity. It's just like it's pushing one person away and then elevating the other, which to me doesn't make sense. It's
it
balance.
defies logic. Yeah,
100%.
And if it defies logic,
so I had to figure out a way to be able to balance and still teach women that not all men are bad and they're not out to get you and all of that stuff. This is just like off of other people's trauma that want to implement it on you. So I was like, yeah, it's time for me to create some sort of platform, which is mind coaching, because I did all of that stuff on myself, and I was like, yep, I want to do that for other women, to wake them up in a way where they also are able to connect with the feminine energy. Because a lot of women like myself in the past, I was so into my masculine and wanting to compete with other people, like other men, basically. And I realized that took me away from my beautiful nature of how I was actually created. And it's possible to be a very soft, feminine woman, yet be powerful and confident and be able to uplift men and women. So that's kind of my story in watered down, but it is my story, and that's how I started to kind of create all these platforms to uplift humanity, and that's what I love to do.
I'm sure a lot of people relate to that. I mean, we got a lot of similarities too, I would say. Growing up in an Arab Middle Eastern household, being told what to do rather than searching for it yourself gets quite confusing, especially when you're told it is what it is. No answers, right? My general belief is religion is something that you are supposed to discover. Okay, you're not supposed to be born into it. You could be born into your own DNA, genetic pool, but But being born into a religion, it at the end of the day doesn't make sense because it's missing information. You know, we're all born with capacity. We just need to fill it up.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we were raised, I would say it was just more told, do, don't do, do, don't do. But there's no information in between there. So we're not really filling up anything. We just have these like markers of fear, like we can call them, you know, little fear bumps across the road. And we just avoid them. And it turns you into this like confused person where you almost can turn either racist or problematic in some sort, you know, really lacking large human necessary qualities just by avoiding these don'ts, you know?
Well, it's indoctrination 101, really.
Yeah.
Because if they don't teach you how to become curious about just how to think about reality and religion, and they're just forcing an agenda on you, that's indoctrination.
Yeah, so some of your progress bars are missing. Usually, if you grow up like that, it's either your spirituality is missing, your communication is missing, your information is missing. Like, and if your information is missing, God help you, dude. But I have a question for you because I know that you're heavily into, you know, finding your spiritual self and seeing past, like the physical reality, things like that. Is religion important to you?
You know, I knew you were going to ask this question because of the conversation that we had one-on-one the other day. And I actually ended up having epiphany from that conversation. And I'm really just happy you brought this up because I wanted to talk about it.
Sick.
So this is how I feel about religion. And I'm going to give this to you in a scenario. I feel like religion is when you walk up to the house. So you're very aware of how the house looks. You see the door, you see the windows, the beautiful property. But spirituality is you walking into that house and actually discovering the house and looking through the house. So I think religion's a beautiful thing if it's taught and communicated in a way where it empowers us and to be able to look within and to be able to discover the divine within. The reason why I love spirituality, it's a step further. It's like really actually understanding everything. And that's why I love spirituality and I have no problem with religion. You know, I'll always say I'm Muslim because I love what it has brought for me and what it's done for me. And I love how, you know, the Quran itself has never been touched. It's never been changed. And it has all of these guidelines. It's just straight to the point. But it's really important for people to read it and to translate it in a way where it actually helps and empowers you, not where it actually does the opposite for you.
Yeah.
And I've dug into other religions and I've read the Bible and the Torah and all of these things. And for me, it's all the same message. It's all the same message. It's just about connecting with the divine within and being a channel in this world and being of service and how to have this mind, body, spirit connection, how to be happy, how to be abundant. It's not about the opposite. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. I like the way you pictured it.
Would you say that there are a lot of religious people in today's day and age that are spiritually debased? Like they don't really have a spiritual connection, even though they're connected to a religion?
Yeah, I think anything and everything is possible. So absolutely, I think that it really depends on that person's intention. Why is it that they want to get into religion or get into spirituality? What are they looking for? Okay, they figured it out and now they want to be a teacher. Why do they want to be a teacher? Why do they want to give back? Why do they want to be of service? So it really goes back to that person's intention. And I do believe that there's people out there that exist like that, where sometimes they don't have the best intention. They just want to be looked at as superior and that they have all the knowledge and the intelligence and the wisdom. And they want to be able to have people just come to them and be like, I'm the one that knows the answer. I'm the one that's connected more than you are to God. So
it's the position of power. I think once you have like the plate of power and you finally arrive there, intention is really key to look at. And the thing is, you can't see it. So it's just, it's energy. And that's why I believe being repelled by a religion that you may have been a part of is very common. And it's because of the teachers, I would say, the people guiding it. many people have told me before, and it's kind of like something that I just reassure myself with, but it's just like, it's never the root thing. It's always the carrying of information and transfer of it that gets messed up and diminished, and it just gets miscommunicated.
Sure.
To the point where you can't really trust. So I think spirituality is super cool because it really gets you back to the base, right? Feeling derived.
What do you think, Zin? I'm curious.
About spirituality in general?
Spirituality, religion, all of these things.
I think they're useful tools. I've never been against religion per se. I've just never particularly felt connected to one certain religion. But in terms of spirituality, I think the analogy you brought up is a really good one, because it's much deeper than anything on the surface. And I think a lot of people will take anything from a religious context from a surface level. Like, they won't go much deeper. But when you get into what spirituality means, it's a very personal thing. And I think in order to realize it's a personalized subject, you have to dive into it. And you have to experience certain fears. You have to go through suffering. You have to discover certain things about yourself. So yeah, I think they're tools. But people need to understand the differentiation between them.
I love that. And the reason why I asked is because I want other people and listeners to know that just because I think the way that I think, or Saeed thinks the way that he thinks, or you Zid, that we're all right in our own way. It's about what brings you closer to yourself and what humbles you in a way where you're actually genuinely happy.
Keeps you centered. You don't want to you don't want to float away to your overthinking. You don't want to float away to your prayers. You kind of want to be centered. You want to have a toggle switch where you could just be on off, on off, on off.
Yeah.
It's a form of control at the end of the day. I think spirituality is just, it's another part that we forget to work out at the gym. That's all it is. It's another muscle, realistically.
Yeah.
And it just strengthens you as a general human being. I don't think it's connected to any religion per se, right? Spirituality is a part of every religion, if you really think about it. I didn't know it was a part of Islam until I started studying philosophy. Once I got into philosophy, and I'm like, wow, dude, even the way that people talk about this is just so engaging, right? And I was like, if this scenario, right, my philosophy class and my club was taken and just put into a mosque, and I was spoken to this way and was taught to think and ask questions, I probably would have lived differently.
100%, because now there's no judgment. Think about it. There are people out there that go out, they drink, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but people go out, drink, do drugs, whatever, but still somehow show up to Friday prayer, which is very important, the Islamic faith. And then you have other people looking at that person like, dude, what are you doing here? And I think that's the worst thing that you can do to somebody, because what if that person is trying still? What if that person is just at least showing up Friday prayer because they have been praying, because they want help, and that's their way? And then you have somebody else who's just looking down upon them, thinking that because they do everything right, that somehow they are better because they're more spiritual. And that's called spiritual ego. And that's one thing that I always talk about with my clients is, don't for a second think that you have all this knowledge and this wisdom and these beautiful gifts that you think you're better than anybody. We're all equal. We're all balanced. We're all grounded. And we all have to view each other through the eyes of source, which is through the eyes of love. And that's kind of like my motto is, how can we be able to view each other like we view ourselves? Look at people like our mirrors, So I wanted to make sure I also mentioned that, because even if you're the biggest spiritual teacher, to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like, I still have respect for that person coming to Friday prayer. And if you think about it, all these religions started why? Before any religion, it was just about one God. It was just about, being a good person and having good, clean intentions. But people started to mess up.
It's a balancing act. Yeah. It's a balancing act. Interesting. Yeah, every religion technically brings out one characteristic. It's like the ultimate perfect human, basically. And we don't even follow that. So you know what I mean?
We're human beings. We were meant to make mistakes.
the thing is, people don't understand and don't want to understand and don't even want to make it a fact, is that these were role models that roamed this earth. They were legit role models that no matter what country, what race you were, you knew of him and you knew of them and you knew of their power and their influence. That's insane. So we can come in here and start denying religion as a whole, but at the end of the day, it was a human by foot movement. We forget to look into history as much, and we just look at it as this jewel of a book that is make believe. You know, a lot of people haven't even read it. You know how weird it is for someone to just pick up the Quran and just start reading?
Yeah.
These days, yeah.
It's like, nah, bro, that's something from the fairy tales. Like, you know, I'm gonna rub a genie lamp.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, but but you literally live in La La Land if that's the case. You know, this is the real world. I would suggest looking into history before you do anything, because you have to realize how real this was, right?
Well, you know why I even started to look into religion and spirituality, and I like to call them ascended masters when it comes to like Jesus and Prophet Muhammad and, you know, all of these other people that came before us. The reason why I looked into all of this stuff is because I was having so much challenges with anxiety and stress and depression and just feeling so disconnected from myself that I knew me getting married was not going to make it better. I knew me having money was not going to make it better. Me having, you know, some sort of social status on social media was not going to make it better. These might numb the pain, but it doesn't actually heal the root cause of all this stuff. So I needed to figure out, what were these prophets doing, or ascended masters or Said? I know you like to call them characters. What were they doing in this world, and how were they able to figure out how to heal these challenges and this trauma and the stress and all of this stuff? Because obviously they were able to, and they had a really beautiful connection with the divine. And that's why I started to look into their stories and figure out, you know, how did they do it? And is it impossible for me to do that too? And I said, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that we all have the power within, and it's up to you if you decide that you actually want to look into it and to tap into it. And if you want to have the mindset of like, no, that happens for other people and not for me, well, look at your life. Look at your reality. What's mirroring back to you?
What is the one thing you think most people misunderstand about spirituality?
That's a good question. Let me ponder.
Damn right, it's a good question.
Because there's a lot of answers, but I want to give you a good one.
It's my boy Zaid right there.
Yeah, the one biggest thing, because I've been interested in this question for a long time.
I think the biggest misconception is that it has to be done the right way. I think that when people look into spirituality, or maybe have the fear of looking into spirituality, is they think there's only one way to get connected, and there isn't. Because, and this is the way I look at it, because the divine to me is this unlimited source, unlimited power, unlimited, just majestic, beautiful energy. There's so many ways to get connected. There's just not one way. And I think that there are certain platforms where spiritual teachers exist, where again, they will say, this is the right way and you have to do it this way in order to gain yourself back. And I think that is the biggest BS that people actually really believe in. And it's because they're so desperate to get answers, because I was there. I know. Guys, I used to see psychics. I used to do all of this stuff because I was so desperate for answers and I could not figure it out, that I would literally hire somebody to tell me about my life and tell me what's going to happen in the future. And all that ever did to me was stress me out even more, because I'm like, okay, well, if this person told me this, that means it has to be done in this way on this time with this person. And 90% of the stuff didn't even happen. And the reason why is because you are the creator of your future. So whatever, again, you put out into the universe, that's what's going to come back to you. So to answer your question, it's about people thinking that there's only one way to spirituality, but there's so many different, beautiful, authentic, unique paths.
One interesting thing is what people don't realize, like even Muslims of this age, is the amount of prayer methods there are. Okay, she said something very cool, which was essentially like by the book. You know, people like to do certain actions by the book. Like, how many times have I cannot tell you how many times, you know, someone has seen me like make the cleansing, will do, right? And then they'd go, you did that incorrectly the third time. I was like, the third? Bro, shut. Like, why do we pay attention to these details that literally mean nothing, right? At the end of the day, I still clean myself. That's, nothing has changed, right? But it's just like, no. Now you got to repent for it. Like, no, bro, who's telling you this? I need to know.
And look at the programming. Look at this programming that it's giving you, that it's like, you have to do it the right way in order for you to be good enough.
And it's like, oh, excuse me, sir, can you bend over? What error code is that? Oh, 3104. Okay, I know how to fix this.
It's a way for it's a way for people to one up you in the spirituality.
And that's the thing. It's spiritual ego. Okay. But the funny part is you know that feeling when you go see nature after a very long time at work in the city. You're like, you're the introduction alone is like, wow, the connection is amazing. That's a form of prayer. Like, religiously speaking, that's a form of prayer.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is supposed to be the connection spiritually to the God-given earth that you're standing on, right? Same thing with the beach. It's like, these are forms. These are points of remembrance to your Lord, or whatever you want to call them, right? In other forms, prayer, you're just, it's communication, it's intention, it's remembrance, it's mindfulness. That's all it is. It's just your mind, spirit, soul, and purpose, and vision, and dreams all coming together. And it's this nice cocktail of no headaches today.
That's beautiful.
And it's just, you can call it what you want, you know? You can call it Islam, you can call it Christianity, you can call it this. And the rulings are basically there to help guide your intentions at the end of the day. Because with ill intentions, you're straying far from being a decent human being. Right? I'm pretty sure, like, when we start recording, your intentions aren't like, I want to get trillions of views.
No,
right?
It's just
you're
not
like, no,
right
I have a message, right?
Yeah,
that's more of your intention. And that's just the way it is. I don't know what truth is, you know. Even, I mean, Islam, for example, will always tell you that this is the closest you'll get to the truth, right? And this is the truth, whatever. But then you study more on this earth, and you're like, nothing's guaranteed, because I don't even have the clearest answer of all. So what can I take this as? The universe is just, how much do you trust some things? I don't think it can ever be 100%. Anything in the world, right? It could be your goddamn soulmate.
You know why?
There's just this thing about infinity, and it's like, I get a feeling for it, but I cannot explain it at the very moment.
Can I try?
You can. I think you do know.
I wouldn't say no. This is off of my intuition. I think that if we knew everything and everything was just 100% perfect in this world and in our lives, then we would stop asking. We wouldn't want to connect. We wouldn't really care to look into things, because what's the point?
What's the fun in knowing?
Correct.
Okay. We know the wall exists. That's about it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting perspective. So this is a little bit of a side tangent, but I'm very curious to hear your perspective on this. I coach men when it comes to their health. You say that you coach women when it comes to their mindset, correct? Where's the starting place for you when it comes to coaching a young lady and just getting her on the right path, so to speak?
Very beautiful question. I love that question. So I always start with understanding their perception of themselves and their reality. So I can't actually say anything up until I understand what is their story and what's their narrative, in order for me to understand how they perceive this world. So once I start to understand all of those things, then I start to ask them, what do you think is holding you back from being your authentic, full, high potential self? And they will list. Like, women are so good at knowing exactly, guys. I'm telling you, it's like a freaking scroll of stuff. And I said, okay, we don't need to get that deep. Let's simplify it. What are your limiting beliefs? So once I know what the limiting beliefs are, I start to teach them how to create new beliefs, a new narrative. And then once we get there, then I try to ask them, what are the feelings you want to feel on a daily basis? And these are the top 3 that I hear. I want to feel loved, I want to feel worthy, and I want to feel free. And I said, perfect. And I'm, Saeed, you talked a lot about prayer. And one of my ways of praying and connecting is meditation. This is very, very big for me because this is where I close down on 3D and I connect with a whole different field. So then I start teaching these women how to be able to connect within and to connect with the feeling, because the feeling is the secret. So as we started this podcast episode, we talked about how your energy comes from your thoughts and how that creates your reality. So I prep and I prime them into feeling those feelings on a daily basis just for 3 minutes. Because you have to understand, I'm coaching women from 18 to 25. And during that age, and especially with our generation now, people's span just to pay attention is very, very low. Like if you look on Instagram Reels or TikToks, the longest somebody will actually stay on there is 10 to 15 seconds. If it doesn't get to them, they're scrolling up. So I was like, okay, I got to figure out to do this in a way where it's practical for these women. So I said, okay, can you guys do it just 3 minutes a day? That's it. 3 minutes a day, tune in with the feeling, and then go about your life. And as soon as that you get some sort of thought that is trying to do some self-sabotage or put you against yourself, just understand your brain, the way it was designed, all of our brains is to protect ourselves. So how do we figure out a way where we protect it and, they're protecting us in a way where it's actually empowering us, not disempowering us? So that's kind of the steps that I do. What's your narrative? What are your limiting beliefs? We create new beliefs. We tune into the feeling, and that's it. And the most important thing, though, I will tell you, is self-discipline and actually showing up and doing the work. Most of the time, if people are not able to, they'll be like, oh, well, I can't do this and I can't tune into the feeling and this belief is not working for me. And most of the time it's because people don't want to make time to actually sit down and do the work. It's not about the technique. Technique is easy. Doing this stuff is actually really easy. It's not hard. It's actually just making time for yourself. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They rather be scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or following all these other people instead of following their own path.
Yeah. I mean, the skill of attention too, like how to get yourself to be attentive or to focus deeply, that's required, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So when a lot of people tell me I didn't feel anything or I don't think anyone has taught you how to deeply focus on it to begin with, right? Because as meditation is for you, I went back to just regular salah. You get me? And it's not, and it's been the same prayer, right? Same bending of the knees, same getting down, nothing has really changed except my outlook on it. All right. Because I can tell myself this is BS all day and I will actually believe it. Mm-hmm. Right? But I could do the opposite thing where I start to put everything aside, put everything that has whispered something about it to me away, right? I don't even want to know what their faces look like anymore. It's just solely me in a dark room with a big question mark, right? It could be an entity, it could be a shadow, it could be nothing. But at the end of the day, meditation, it all stems from the same spot. It's just this being mindful of you seeking something from something higher than you that is invisible, right? Meditation is the same way. It's just you're seeking that energy, whatever you want to call it.
Totally. And the beautiful thing about actually doing that prayer. So in the Muslim faith, we're supposed to pray 5 times a day. Mm-hmm. It's about self-discipline to show up and do it 5 times a day, but also those movements, they open up certain parts of your body. So for instance, when you are putting your head on the floor, you're connecting with earth, you're connecting with the divine, you are just surrendering. So all of these movements, they have a reason for it. But did they teach us this stuff in Sunday school?
No. You have to learn this.
Nobody told me this. They said you just gotta pray so you can get to heaven. I'm like,
This is adult recognition. Again, it's pattern recognition. That's what it kind of is. And now it's feeling derived. So now when you get down there and you're like, how come that when I'm getting down there, it's like push-up position. I'm feeling the striations in my upper chest. And once I'm down there, you feel the weight of your shoulders come down. And you're like, all right, Like you feel like you're repenting in some sort. Dude, it's weird. Okay. Second thing is scientifically proven blood circulation is improved from the amount of times we do this throughout the day. So that's not an accident. You know, these specific moves, to be able to do them specifically in that way opens up things. It's crazy, right? We know this about moving your hips and moving your knees and getting down low, doing all this stuff, and especially laying down backwards or laying on your head, right? You're opening up circulation from your feet all the way to your hair follicles, pretty much, which is fascinating to me. And the fact that we do it 5 times a day, that means you're averagely healthy in general.
100%.
Yeah, and keep this in mind too, like when you actually look at the function of meditation, because I have a good amount of experience with the actual practice of just sitting down and tuning into just the environment, sounds, people talking, so forth. The actual function of the practice is to not have any thought whatsoever, to remove the monkey mind and that to get in touch with something deeper. So when you look at like the Islamic prayers, I feel like a lot of people would go through the motions and just think about certain things within their life, but they don't actually like just purely focus on the recitation of the Quran or purely on the movement.
Yeah.
They're stuck in their head.
Yes. That's why I say it's this thing of like linking your feeling as well. Like
Well, you know, it's not even just about the movements, it's about the words. So one thing I will say is that our words and our verbiage and our language, they hold frequencies, they hold energy. So it's like everything that you're reciting in Arabic or in English or whatever language. So like, for instance, when you're praying and you're doing these movements and you're speaking these words or even hearing it, it's healing you, because all of these words were put together for healing, for connection, for love, for understanding, for surrendering. They were not just written just to go do your prayer and leave. And a lot of people treat it that way, where they just clock in, clock out. I'm just doing what I need to do so that way after this life we're going to heaven. And I'm like, why not create your heaven here? Like, is there really, I don't really actually know where we're going after this. I don't know. So why won't you just actually create it on in this 3D reality and do what you need to do with the right intention?
I use this thing called progress bars. Okay. And we have millions to fill up. Okay. The way people think about a lot of things, I've realized, is like clocking in and clocking out, clocking to the gym, right? As long as I show up every day, my body will just change, right? I don't have to have mindfulness about it. I'll just push a couple things. Instead of saying, hey, I want to increase the knowledge of the gym and I want to know what to do to optimally change my body in different ways and become the experiment, you're filling up progress bars at that point, right? So you're progressing over time with many things using one thing. So the gym, therefore, is teaching you many things across your timeline.
Sure.
That's missing. It's very short term. Like you said, it goes back to attention span, right? 3 minutes. Dude, if you can't handle 3 minutes, what about your college thesis? You know, like
another thing is like it
just doesn't make sense.
Like when you hear the adhan done well from somebody that just resonates with you, like their voice, there's something about it that just artistic. Like it just creates a silence.
Melody.
The same effect that you have when you walk into nature and see a beautiful landscape. It creates that same type of effect.
It's because that guy decided to fill up another progress bar called melody or music. So when you go into these things, it's not just reciting the words. It's grasping it as a whole. You're going through stages of this to finally to be able to sing and play chords all at the same time, right? You can have great words, but you lack the knowledge of vocal cords. So therefore you sound very flat and it's just not going to sound good. But there are going to be different people that are going to be more influenced and connected and want to do this the right way. And you look at how humans are designed. When people are passionate about things, it shows, and we just are more drawn to it. Totally. In general. Like look at Kanye West, right? Fire beats, bro. Fire beats. People hate on him because he's crazy, but he's not crazy. He just knows he's going to do it. He's manifesting the crap out of it 24/7.
Well, he's speaking truth.
He is it.
People can't handle the truth.
Yeah, people can't handle it. That's it. And they call it what? Weird.
Yeah, and it's not just Islam. It takes place in like Christian choir, all sorts of things.
Yeah, so it's like, so that's going back to everything we just talked about. This all goes back to how it is communicated, right? There's no resonance of like, when you go into an acting class, everyone's like, dude, you are welcomed AF. Like, you could be like, I have never even pictured myself to be here, but I'm a little nervous today. And they'd be like, oh, come sit next to me. Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good. I'll show you how scripts are made. I'll do this. Blah, blah, blah. And you're just getting helped, right? But when you walk in these days to like a mosque, for example, you know, for most cases, you're going to be like, why is he wearing that shirt? Why is he doing that? Why is he doing this incorrectly? Why? Right? Yeah. And it's just, everybody wants to beat everybody else into telling you you're wrong. And that's the real challenge to them. Makes no sense. Right?
Where do you think that programming comes from in our society of always just comparing ourselves? And
to be completely honest, it's the mix of culture within the same religion. So it's one religion mixed in with like 17 cultures. It's gonna cause chaos to me. It because everybody is gonna have their household mentality, right? And this is why we have so much pieces of logic that are just floating around. Everyone thinks they're right? Under the same religion, coming from different households, they're just like, well, I was raised this way. Well, I was raised that way. I was raised this way. Okay, well, are you Muslim or not? Yeah, I'm Muslim. All right. Well, that's one similarity we have, but don't. You get me? It's by name at this point. Because I can't relate to anybody.
I think it goes deeper than that, dude. I think like a lot of people are not going to share the same sentiment as me, but I think a lot of the things can, at least from a human perspective, can be explained by evolutionary biology. And if you go back long enough, what is the function of comparison? Like me comparing myself to you. Back in the day with our ancestors, like it was all about who is where in the hierarchy. And if you can't compare, then you don't know where you are on the hierarchy, and you're going to make mistakes, which could potentially lead to your death.
Yeah.
So I think culture plays a big role.
But it's also like,
I like to look at the root as well.
It's also spiritual. I think it's a lot of
like,
because you can upgrade your spirituality as a whole society, right? You can. And the parts, I don't know how to say this. Like, we don't check our intentions often enough. I don't think many people know that there is a test for yourself to do so, right? The most common example I can think of is someone makes a lot of money and they change suddenly, right?
They don't change, by the way. I'm just going to say something real quick. They actually, their true colors show. A lot of people say that, oh, it changes people. It doesn't. That's who they were already
just
from
amplifies.
Before.
Yeah.
Unpause.
True colors. No. I think
he
I slightly disagree.
No, it's real.
Okay, yeah,
dude.
please tell me. I want to know. I want to hear your perspective on this.
I slightly disagree. And I think it's because if given the advantage, everybody, let's just say, I don't even know how to say this, but it's, if
I feel like I understand what you're saying, and I could see your point of view.
Yeah, it's almost like, look, it's not really the benefit of the doubt by any means, but it's just, money is such a sensitive thing as a tool that it does have the power to bring out the human nature things that like religion used to block, right? You know, if you were practicing to be a great human being on a certain standard, right? You were in, let's not even impoverish, let's just say normal standards, okay? And you believed that you could be a savage. You know, most of us do, you know, because we do have that savagery within us. We just need to be in the right position to do so. Like, someone killed my family. I'm a savage now, you know? Crazy. How you could do that when I was the nicest person on earth yesterday, right? So I feel like there's things that in life, let's just say within your living standard, that will just push down on the savagery, okay, deeply, because of your just beliefs. And along with a distraction like money, and a very sensitive thing like money that can change communities for the better, or could ruin a person's complete dynamic with humanity, right? When it comes to something that valuable, it does play a role in getting you to change suddenly. I feel like it does crack a person And depending on your discipline amounts and how strong you are deeply, right? Did you ever care about humanity to begin with or not? That's the ultimate decision factor. I don't think everybody's just, you know, it brings out the true nature. I mean, think about it. Everybody has the same true nature. Mm-hmm. It's just our beliefs really put a weight on it. And something
our beliefs,
like money,
our programming, yep.
Yeah, something that's as valued and sensitive as money. Like, think about it. If I took someone's life savings of $10,000, right? That's already that's insane. Like, they would probably kill me, right? They would like.
Yeah, like you said, it's a very sensitive topic.
Like, it's such a sensitive thing. They would rage over it within an instant, right? I don't see anything else on this earth really doing that besides, you know, getting into family turf or whatever. You know, someone called me an idiot. Great. What am I going to do? Get really mad? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I feel like money is one of those things that can truly break someone and bring something new into them.
Can you describe more of what you mean by, like, it doesn't necessarily change who you are, but it amplifies the certain characteristics that a person has?
You're talking to me, right?
Yeah.
So I want to go back to what Saeed was saying, because he said you have to push it down. And what I meant with it amplifies, well, if you have to push something down, doesn't that mean that it's already a part of you? It's not an external thing. It does not change you. This is my perception. I think that it's something that exists within you. And then when you get that external thing, then it's something that is amplified and it becomes on a physical level. But it started on a mental level. It started on a spiritual level first. So a lot of the times with my work, money doesn't scare me. I think it's a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, because the way we were programmed as little kids, or even like in religion, like money is the root of all evil, or, you know, people who have a lot of money are very cocky and they don't like to help people. Well, I've actually experienced the complete opposite. I've been around very wealthy people where they're so humble, and all they do with their money is like, yeah, they take care of themselves and their family, but they're of service. Mm-hmm. So it really depends from the beginning. What's your intention of, you know, if somebody's praying, God, please just bring in some sort of abundance so I can help myself and help my family and be able to give back. God gives you the money, or divine, or whatever you believe in, or you just think that you go out there and get the money, and then all of a sudden it changes you. That's not all of a sudden. That's already been in you, but you just never recognized it because you never reflected.
Well, that's the thing. What I'm saying is, if you practice the things that you preach, for example, spirituality, meditation, mindfulness, it becomes easier to push on yourself to be like, no, you know that your intentions need to be clear, even if you're a billionaire. You get me? And I know it's the common saying, you know, money is the root of all evil. And it kind of is true, especially in today, where the biggest measuring tool is money, right? Like, why are headlines like Elon Musk is now the richest person in the world? And it's like, you know, you go down in like tiers in societal level, and you feel like everyone is measuring throughout the same thing. How much money do you got? You know, what kind of car everyone's driving? That's just a measurement for how much you're making technically, right? And we put that at the forefront, unfortunately. Okay, it's not like we're like, I want to be the best human on earth. That used to be a thing. Now it's, I want to be the richest person on earth. That makes me the best person on earth. Sure. So it's defined by us. It really is. It's defined by your peers, your environment, what is happening. Like, look at politics today.
I don't want to look at politics.
When you look at politics, everybody that says, right? I mean, you have to pay attention to these things to know who's in leadership. What's going on?
I do. It's just
not the
so
daily
corrupt
things.
and
You just have to know. Like, if I ask you who's the president of this, you should know. You know what I mean? But like, I heard someone say, this is probably going to be the last, like, not even great human president. I don't know what to even call it. Right.
Interesting.
And then you look around the world and you're like, wow, dude, all these leaders suck. They straight up suck. There's a very few that I'm like, all right, these guys are doing great things for the economy. They're trying to boost things up. And I think in general, the things that get valued later on in life, and we're living it now, the things that get valued are going to be the worst evil things are going to be valued the highest. Okay. The people that are going to be leading are going to be of the worst people. When I'm talking about people, humanity, how we treat each other and how we program others to treat each other. That's all changing.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is changing as a whole. What I want to say is that on the list of priorities, human treatment and great human characteristics is falling down. It's just falling down the list.
Why do you think that?
It's for order and chaos for a higher being that claims to be a higher being. And I think it's a human entity on this earth.
It's just power, dude. Absolute power corrupts
absolutely. Like less than 0.1% of people that want to dominate this globe using tools. And one of those tools is money.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's order and control to form chaos. That's all it is. It's to form everybody. Matrix, bro, it's to get everybody against each other. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to admit that. And here's the saddest part, Tamara. The saddest part to me is that I have literally maybe zero control over is the newcomers, the new people, the like a lot of the mothers and fathers of my generation, the ones that would be my parents' age, they worked a lot.
Yeah.
Their kids were neglected, I would have to say. I know plenty of people that I can't even relate to because I'm just like on a different level of mind than they are, because they don't have the wisdom from the father. They don't have, the nurture from the mother, like all that kind of stuff. They're just working 24/7, right? So with that, I start to see their kids now. So imagine their kids having kids, and now they work even more, and they're not even there. They never learned the nurture characteristics from the mother. Therefore, they're getting nurses for these children. They're barely home. And think of that chain reaction of things. And this could be one household, and then copy paste, select all, copy paste, right?
I hear you on this, by the way.
It's so frustrating to me to see that the people that I have to rely on to be leaders are these idiots that truly don't know the reality that's actually going on. And they're rather seeing like money is to be made through a live TikTok.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. You don't have to rely on them to be leaders. They're just people. Like you can be the leader instead.
Puppets. They're puppets. There's actually people in the background that we don't really know, but the people that we see on TV, all these people are puppets. These are not our leaders.
Yeah.
And
I know.
And our leadership has never been for the people.
But I'm saying with the way they are being programmed to just sit there and take in information, consume without action, never practicing a thing, that's going to cause more chaos, but blind chaos, because they're not even aware of it. Totally. Like they don't have the suffice information to even be knowledgeable about what they're doing. That's insane to me.
Yeah, this is definitely all controversial.
It's been downhill. We're just now seeing it when it's too late. And that's truly how you see things, right? You don't see the whole until you're in it, until you're deeply in it, and you're like, oh my God, I need to change this now. Yeah, right.
Sorry guys, I want to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm such an opportunist, and this might piss some people off, but I have such a big belief that our generation, especially with us being awake, we are going to be able to change the generations to come, because I think that our parents' generation, they came in as survivors. So they're coming in from wars, and they're coming in from all these very hard situations where, our parents, they came to the US, specifically mine, with nothing, and they built to themselves from the bottom to top. And that's why they were not as involved. And our generation is different. We're more creators. We're coming into this world and waking up and realizing that, okay, there's a problem, and there's a lot of issues and challenges and trauma and anxieties on the high, depression, suicide, all of this stuff is on a high. And one of the biggest reasons why I decided to channel like all of my programming and all of the stuff that I learn into young women is because I want to be able to uplift the younger generations, because those are going to be our leaders. So I don't know. I understand the sadness, because I do feel sad about where we are right now, but future seeing, I do feel that things will get better because the younger generation are not going to sit here and take this anymore. I mean, we're already seeing that these younger generations, you guys are making millions online just streaming and doing all of these things. Do you think that they cannot get to the top and somehow make a difference? I think it's possible.
Well, worrying. Well, here's my point. My point is the world of streaming, the world of that's a different world. There's still a first world where things are taking place, right? Like
Totally.
steel mills, the processor provided to you that's in the computer that's allowing you to stream is still
Very
being made
true.
in the, you know what I mean? So there is a first world. You can't deny that. And the lack of knowledge in that first world is really where it worries me. You know, that the understanding of that is I don't know how many people we're going to lack in that side. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
So if everyone is a creator, then who's producing the equipment? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? I know those are going to be people in the dark, but I think generally speaking, we need to have philosophy that's not like the philosophy of the internet. It's true philosophy. Mm-hmm. You live and die on this earth. All right. Wait, we're not going to bury you in the metaverse. We're going to bury you at the cemetery. Right. So I know you were streaming for the 10 years of your life, but guess what? At the end of the day, you knew nothing about the soil you were in.
Like, yeah, I get that. I think
you get what I mean. We stray far away from this, and that's where spirituality it lays, dude. It lays within the soil. It lays within the sky.
It's the foundation.
It's the foundation of it all. Okay, that's where energy lies. I know we have energy, you know, like the energy star from Edison. Great, that's energy that's running through my CPU power. But I'm talking about that energy, right? We're talking about true form energy, human energy.
People need to understand that there's a pendulum swing effect. It happens in politics, it happens in health, it happens absolutely within every domain. Like, yeah, people will be addicted to the internet. They are addicted to it, but at the end of the day, they'll notice that they're feeling shitty because they're so addicted to it, and then they'll have to get outside. They'll have to do some sort of thing to bring balance back to the equation.
Here's my point. See how you just said that? Knowing that, right? You know that it can be addictive. It can be that. I believe that we may reach a point where they won't even know that they're addicted, or this is an addiction, or why do I feel like this, or there is a feeling at all.
Well, then we're not human beings. We're just drones. We're robots.
Do you not see that how we're turning into that? Bro, my God, dude, go to a Target and then find someone that is making a TikTok and then talk to them. Trust me, you're going to be like, I don't even want to picture your parents, honestly.
Tamara,
that's like the first thought I had.
Speaking of controversial, I know we've covered so many controversial topics. What is the one belief that you have that is deemed like unacceptable to other people or to most people? It can be like totally out of this world. What is your most controversial belief, let's say, that most people would deem you as crazy for?
I think the afterlife. I think because I was born and raised in a religion that speaks about heaven and hell, you know, that you just live this life and then you just leave and then you either go to heaven or hell. That's something that I was struggling with to understand for the longest time. But kind of just going through my own experience and journey, I have my own thoughts and process on all of this stuff. And I'm a big believer in different lifetimes. Like, I don't believe that this is the only lifetime I've ever had, because as a young child, I was already pretty tapped in and very awake and aware, but I chose to sleep for so many years out of fear. And when I started to kind of wake up again and realize there's nothing to be afraid of, and I'm not scared of dying, because I don't feel that the physical body dies, but the soul it's everlasting. It's a forever thing. So I think that I don't really talk too much about it specifically with certain friends, just because I know they are just hardcore, all about, you know, once you die and you go to heaven and hell. And I totally respect all of these things, but a lot of people are not ready to have this conversation. So I really pick and choose who I talk about these things with. But I would say that's probably the biggest controversial topic to talk about, because at the end of the day, nobody actually really knows. Like, I might have my own thoughts, and process about it, but do we actually really know? I don't think so.
I think it's a helpful tool. Heaven and hell.
Tell me, what is your thought process on all this stuff?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, it provides comfort and safety for the actions. Someone holds you accountable for actions at the end of the day, right? And it helps your higher self hold yourself accountable for things, right? So responsibility is a really big thing for me, right? I grew up as the eldest son, so there was a lot expected. I know you were the eldest of your family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that really got us to dive into what is responsibility. And for you to be responsible for a younger sibling, or to be eventually responsible for a bill or two, living with your parents, and then eventually moving out, getting your own office, starting your own business, doing all this stuff. The connection you build is this spiritual higher self, regardless, as the eldest, I believe, because responsibility really puts you there. It puts you into that perspective. You start to look at yourself as a chess piece that is useful to many parts of society and many parts of your life. So that means useful to your parents, useful to your friends, useful to donation centers, useful to anything, really. And just acknowledging that higher self, knowing that, heaven and hell could be a real concept, it could be not. I don't know that. I always leave things kind of in between. But doing things, I don't like the term just in case. But knowing that a certain thing is ancient, first of all, it's one of the very first things to be on this earth. I already have some sort of trust to it, right? I'm obsessed with the root of things. So that means the root of man, the root of everything. And if you look at the root of man, it all started with books. It all started with the same two characters that we always hear about, Adam and Eve.
Came from a man too.
There you go. And it's like, we hear these things and you're like, okay, these are all roots. So everything we learn, we take from technically modern day. No. I want to go before that. I remember we've had a meeting before. We've discussed this, and it's kind of like, I want to go way before. Okay, people who roamed this earth, why were they so obsessed about sending a message? Right? What were these people doing? It wasn't that different from today. People were partying, dancing, raping. Dude, it was just insane, right? Nothing has really changed, because at the end of the day, we have that nature within us. So when people started walking this earth trying to send a message from every region of earth, right? We had Christianity, Catholicism, we had Buddhism, Hinduism, dude, we got Islam, we got everything, right? And it's just, everybody kind of had the same message. Oh, this is the religion for you. This is this. We welcome, and it's all about community, heaven and hell. A bunch of rulings started coming down, and you're like, wow, that's crazy. But here's the thing. Most people did not realize is that is a story that roamed this earth. Okay. So I always like to bring physicality into the sense. Like, I'm like, we were physically, people were alive, dude. Like my great ancestors were alive during that time. That's insane, right? Like my 23andMe came in today, and I started looking down my ancestry tree. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, dude, I'm 41% Egyptian. What? Yeah. Isn't that crazy? And I'm obsessed with pyramids. Come on, bro. Like, how insane is that, right? Some people like pasta, and then they're like 40% Italian, and they're like, like, whoa. And these are other pointers that I'm trying to put out there, is that, think of it. When you get your ancestry, it's not split up into, the Amalfi Coast, PCH, Newport. No. These are things we're familiar with today. But if you even look at it, they're split up into regions. Like, we got Southeastern Europe. Great. That was like we weren't as sliced up back then. We weren't as diced up. We weren't as diverse, as you want to say. We were like a handful, almost. So when you study that, that's almost like, oh my God, that's history. I cannot forget that Newport was something else back then, right? It was Mexico. How insane is that? Did you ever think about that?
What?
Newport Beach.
Was Mexico?
I didn't know that.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Or you just bullshitting?
Most of Orange County and below was Mexico. I think all of California was Mexico, actually. Yeah,
I
and
don't
that
know any of this stuff. This
yeah.
is new to me.
Yeah, this is
Especially
insane.
knowing that you're 40% Egyptian is new
Yeah.
to me. I'm still trying to comprehend that.
Look it up.
I think I'm actually like 20% Egyptian
But
too.
you see what I mean?
Really?
It's
Interesting.
yeah, it's like you bring the spiritual, the physical, all together, and you're like, hold on. There's this sense that I'm trying to get to, and I can see why heaven and hell was a thing. Okay, and it may still be a thing. We don't know. We don't know if it was a thing from the start to begin with. That's what I'm saying, is that us on this earth, we were already like, we didn't ask to be here, right? We are here. What is it for? I hardly believe we are here to be like a tree, right? To reignite Earth or whatever. I feel like Earth is so tiny considering the vast universe we have for it to be that important. You get me?
I have a fun question, by the way. So,
what is it?
This is based off of the last question I asked her. Do you believe in reincarnation?
Yes, 100%.
So the fun question is, who do you believe you were in a past life?
That's a really good question. You know, I've had opportunities to look into this and do like, because there's like people out there that do readings and all this stuff, but I have told myself that I don't want to get into that environment anymore, and nothing against like psychics and people that do these things. I just think for me that when it's time for me to know, I know that God shows me on the perfect timing, because sometimes we try to look into things way too soon and we get stressed out, and that's exactly what happened to me. So I really don't know. Honestly, if I were to answer your question, I have no idea. I just feel that in other lifetimes, I had this message, but I was never able to actually be that person to give the message, because I was just learning from every lifetime all these tools and knowledge and wisdom, that when I got to this lifetime, when I was a little kid, I was obsessed with figuring out, how do I get this message across? How do I figure out who God is and what God is? Like, who at 5 years old cares about these things? I did. So that's why when I started to become older and I started to realize, and I was looking back at my life of like, I had certain wisdom, and wisdom to me does not come from, it doesn't come from books and YouTubes and all these things. Wisdom is like this is like you're channeling in. Intelligence comes from YouTubes and books and teachers and all these things. So I was already created and designed with certain wisdom, and I knew I had a message, and I knew that I had to figure out how to like decode my code, because I told you guys I just believe that this life is a game and you have to figure out your own code to crack it. And I was just trying to figure out, how do I crack this code so I can get this message across? But I'm sure I was some sort of spiritual person. I'm sure I've probably been a man, been a woman, maybe an animal. I have no idea. I really don't know.
What if I told you something crazy that I learned?
Please tell me.
You were a snail in a past life?
No. There's a reason. There's a reason for all of this. You think I'm that slow, bro? God damn it. Well, I like to take my time with learning knowledge. That's why I'm a snail. But
makes sense.
Yeah. So one thing I learned on my journey is I had a lot of questions, okay? And it was related to, I would say, reincarnation, why I thought reincarnation was worth researching. It's because we all have this internal feeling, like we've all met a person where you're like, I swear I've met you before.
100%.
Yeah.
Right? We link on so many deep levels that you're like, what the hell? This is insane to me. Like, was it a dream? I don't know. Was it deja vu? It almost feels like deja vu.
Totally.
And here's something I came across. The reason why I like Islam so much is because how much it's been proven to me on this physical earth, the same thing is translated over. And it's like, and it reads into the future without it being foreseeable. And it predicts it accurately. And it's just crazy. Like, I've taken Zayd down journeys, like finding the Iron Wall in Turkestan or whatever.
So yeah, Juj and Ma'juj. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah.
Gog
So
and Magog.
like the Arabic
like
version.
Things like that, right? And I'm like,
Gog and Magog or something.
You know?
I don't know.
But anyway, one thing I did learn is I had this question about the whole like meeting someone and being like, I've met this person before in like a past life. There has to, like, there's no way. It's like we spent so much time together that from the instant we started talking, it's just like boom into it. Okay, so I had this question before, and I was reading randomly, and it came across, and it was, whew, right before you were born. Okay, our souls are, let's just say, at the gate. Okay, so before, like, it's before your even earliest memory, but it's technically the moment you are born, the moment you see light. We, across, like, there's millions of people on this earth. So I don't know how many per second are being born around the world, right? But God actually says that you may meet these people. Where? Not in the afterlife or previous life, but at the gates of where you exited.
It's like the Twilight Zone.
And that's
Very
where I
cool.
was like, okay, I need to read into this. You know what I mean? And there are a hadith for this. You know, there's this hadiths are like basically the retold lessons or stories from the Prophet himself, right? So depending on how many iterations have come up, that's how we kind of just see how legit it is, right? And this is one of the really old ones. So it's been legitimized. So going back to we are all energy, right? I don't doubt that could be a belief, you know? I don't doubt it one bit. You know, I could be like, this could be option A. This seems very true, you know, because the question is, what happens when the moment you're born, right? We know you can't really see the womb and shit, but like when you come out into the light, what's really happening? I'm pretty sure a child is filled with so many emotions. You get me? Because that's all they have. They're connected to that. So I can only assume that whatever's happening in between the phase of you growing in the womb, right? And the soul hasn't changed from the moment it was created. It's still being formed into this until you come out of the womb. It doesn't make me doubt it whatsoever that could be true. You know, you've met someone. Your soul has met another soul at a point of entrance or exit. It's so weird to me.
I've never had that feeling with somebody.
Really? Never,
you
ever?
Will.
Ever,
you will.
ever?
No.
Interesting.
You will.
I've had deja vu, but not what you guys are talking about when it comes to like
you've felt like you've met somebody before, but you really have never
bro,
met them.
It's like having a copy of you almost in somebody else. And you're like,
well, I get the feeling. Like I understand the feeling behind it. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends on the person.
Get it. You will get it one day.
You will meet your soulmate.
I've met so many people that have had it. I swear. And it's fascinating because they can't explain it. And it's just like that, getting moments like that is really, that's being mindful of a higher self. Honestly, it feels like you're floating in the room now. And that's kind of like the point you want to get to. That's just another form of meditation, I would say. It's just recognizing it in general.
Absolutely. Meditation is all about being in the present moment and your awareness level and your consciousness raising. You know, a lot of people think it's just sitting in a corner and being crisscross and that's meditation, but it's not. It's just whatever brings you closer to yourself and your connection and just bridges that mind, body, and spirit connection. Because a lot of people get lost in like thinking that our physical reality is all that we have, but no, it's much deeper than that. But I did want to mention one thing, Said. You mentioned about like how we don't have a choice and we were just chosen to be here. There actually is a piece in the Quran that speaks about free will, and that we were asked before we came into this lifetime if we actually want to come, because God always gives us this free will. And that's the beauty about this physical reality, is like, yeah, we have purposes and certain callings that we are supposed to do, but at the end of the day, God gives us divine source, whatever again you want to call it. I personally just call it God, but gives us the choice or the free will to choose if we actually wanted to come down into this physical reality and to create, you know, and be a part of this world and in this like human nature. So I don't remember what Quran verse it was, but I'll send it to you after this podcast episode, and I think you'll find it very intriguing.
Yeah. Did you have someone interpret that, or did you interpret it yourself?
Myself,
Just curious.
honestly. I've realized that I've always ran to people to show me things, and I'm a really big believer in having mentors and teachers and all that stuff. However, at that point in my life, I was so desperate to understand that I would question and ask other people versus going back to my intuition first and to ask, the divine within me. And if I felt like I needed a little bit more, then I would definitely reach out to people that I actually trust. Otherwise, most of the time it's my own understanding and my own connection within myself. That's really a lot of my meditations is me decoding things.
It's valuable stuff.
It's very valuable. I can see that based off this conversation, you're really good at engaging talk.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
100% for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You've really set the room tone for everybody. Yeah, I find it all interesting in the sense that there's really no right answer, I would say.
I think it depends on what
it's going to be determined kind of by like, I don't even know if they're like, what is truth, bro? Just be a good person. And it starts with being mindful. And how do you be mindful? It's through meditation. It's through these little breaks in your day, right? So I call them the 5 prayers. You can call them meditation. And it's all, at the end of the day, it's the same thing, right? You're taking a break to really just take in other energy than the energy you've been taking in all day, because it's so hard to not consume these days all the things that we need to consume. It's a part of your job at this point, and it's meditation is the part that was missing that made everybody go crazy for about a decade.
Well, even think about the prophet, right? Prophet Muhammad. Where was he before he got the revelation and the angel came to him? Do you remember?
The mountain, the cave.
Yeah, the cave.
You know what he was doing in there?
Meditating.
There you go. He was being mindful of what is happening. Why is this happening?
This is like decades ago.
So think of that. I honestly, if there are people that are like new to Islam or whatever, if you guys are listening to this, just think of how real this was on this earth. Okay, this man was on this earth. He was in a cave, and there was an angel, and this happened. You know what I mean? And the reason why I believe that happened is because after that, everything has been proven true on this earth in that book. There's still some predictions in it, but everything to a T. I'm not even saying we skipped one. That's what's kind of like, you can hear that in fear almost. Like, that's scary, that how accurate, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
whether you like it or not, it's on this earth. Yeah, it was on this earth. I think
it's beautiful. And the cool thing about that specific story is Muhammad did not know how to read or write. And it's so like surreal when you think about how this person's sitting in a cave meditating, an angel comes down and is like, read. And Prophet Muhammad's like, I can't read. Angel's like, read. He's like, I can't read. He's like, read. And then they just started. So it's like spirituality is a real thing. I mean, I think, to me personally, put religion to the side. The angel coming down, that's a spiritual like entity, and a lot of people think that we come into this world by ourselves, and we're not. We have this whole spiritual team. You have your own angels, you have God, you have so many things in the external world, in the spiritual world, that you can connect with. And that's what I do. I don't feel like I'm by myself. I used to feel very disconnected and feel by myself, and like nobody understands me, nobody gets me. But that's because I was not aware of these things, because I was not taught about these things. And when I started to learn about them, and I started to teach, and I started to see how other people on the other side, it's almost like they can breathe. It's almost like this sense of release of like, oh, I'm not by myself. And I'm very grateful for all these teachers that I've had, even the ones that, made me question a lot of things, and I thought I was on the wrong path, but I needed those people in this programming in order to be where I am today. So I think a really big lesson for the other person on the other side of this, when you're listening, I want you to know that you're always on the right path. I want you to know that you are always divinely protected and supported. And I really want you to know that anything that you ask and you put out into the universe, you will get an answer. But it comes down to your belief in yourself and your belief that you are worthy enough to receive what it is that you want out of this life. It comes down to your own perception, and to understand that you don't have to do these things by yourself. There's so many people out there that are willing to support you and be there for you and to see you and to validate you. But it starts with you taking that step forward first. It's not going to come to you if you don't go. You have to take that step forward. Step up to that house, look at the house as the analogy I used, and look at the property and see it. But you have to walk through the door. Nobody's going to walk in the door for you.
Yeah, you have to figure out how to use the coffee machine. That's
Powerful.
one part of it. Yeah, I think you're right. It's all intention. That's what spirituality is. It's throwing your intention into the air and following it.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any last words that you have for us or the audience?
Well, I actually have a question for you to close off on. Actually,
Okay.
I think it's the perfect one. If you were to be remembered for one thing, what would it be for?
If I could remember one thing.
No. If you were to be remembered for one thing, what would it be? What is one thing you would like to be remembered for?
That's a very good question. I would love to be remembered as being an open channel in library, and really just having all these different platforms to be able to uplift humanity in a way where it's very loving and it's very supportive and it's a safe space. Because what's very authentic about your guys' platform here at 2 a.m. is like the three of us, we have different perceptions, and yet we're still able to connect on that level. And that's what I want to be remembered for, is that when we're sitting down and talking, I would never judge you. I would never look at you any less or any better, because I understand at the end of the day, we're one. One heart, one soul, one mind. That's what I always talk about, that we're just one consciousness.
Yeah.
And we're a human race.
Yeah, I love that about you. You seek to understand rather than just know it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think just being grounded in this type of work is really important. And that's why I love being on social media. I love being connected with people and traveling, being out and about and having these conversations. But I've realized in my journey, the most important thing and like my biggest priority is my connection with God, and making sure that I make time to churn all these things off, because I'm not going to miss out on all that stuff. I'll show up and I'll do the work, but me sitting in that corner and connecting is so important to me, because I know if I'm filling up my cup, then I can fill up other cups. I can't do it if my cup is empty.
Beautiful.
What a convo. I feel like I went on a journey.
Yeah, I literally feel like I'm in my eyes are in tunnel mode right now. Crazy stuff.
Well, I'm just appreciative of you guys, honestly.
Thank you.
You guys created the space, you had the intention, and I had the intention, and we met right in the middle, and we've been able to have such a beautiful conversation, coming from different backgrounds. I guess you're Egyptian, and now Zed's Egyptian too. I think I'm Egyptian too. I mean, why not?
We're all Egyptian. Come on, guys.
Why not? Yeah. So thank you to both of you putting this together and inviting me, and being a safe space for myself.
Thank you for coming on.
We'll include links in the description, the whole lot.
Yeah. So for sure, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. And this has been episode number 168 with Tamara Kailany. Go ahead and follow her. We're going to leave her everything in the description down below. If you haven't already, go follow the 2 a.m. podcast at YouTube, at the 2 a.m. podcast, obviously. And we have the Instagram at the 2 a.m. podcast and the Twitter at 2 a.m. pod. Give us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to be featured on our website. And until next time, guys.
Peace.